My friends, last night was an incredible evening for those of us who appreciate the notion of free speech, who love the idea of the First Amendment, and who really understand what we are up against in terms of our liberties being destroyed. Julian Assange was, in essence, freed. I just did a brand new video on that. I hope you are subscribed to the channel. I can't say this enough. You must remain assigned. You must remain subscribed. Because what we do is made by virtue of the First Amendment. We are allowed to do this. We are allowed to speak, theoretically, by virtue of the First Amendment. And yet, so many folks in our country have absolutely no clue as to what this means. No clue as to the significance of this. None. In fact, some people say Julian Assange is a traitor, but he's not an American citizen. They don't ask any questions. And the person who was responsible for this problem he's in was Donald Trump, but specifically Mike Pompeo. Donald Trump listened to this bombast. Mike Pompeo. This is one of those ones where President Trump, absolutely wrong. Absolutely wrong. Not wrong enough for me to vote for Pops Biden, but absolutely wrong. We're going to discuss this in earnest. I've been up all night doing various commentaries. This is a huge, huge story. Did he win? Did he cave in? What does this mean? What does it really matter? What is journalism? Does anybody even care? Does it even exist today? We'll talk about that. Let me remind you, dear friends, to ensure that you are subscribed. So many people have their subscriptions undone for reasons I shan't understand. Please do that. Please be aware. Please focus. Please focus on this. This is an extremely critical show. An extremely critical show. And I want you to understand the tasks that we have in trying to explain to the rest of the country why this means something. Because as you can tell, most Americans just don't really understand. They're kind of into playbook politics, but they don't really understand it. In fact, they don't really understand a lot. And that's where we come in. But in the meantime, dear friends, listen to this incredibly important word. 2 million people were hit in a massive debt collection data breach. The most valuable pieces of personal information to hackers were exposed, including full names, birth dates, and social security numbers. What's worse is that the hackers had unauthorized access to this debt collection database for over a week, nearly guaranteeing that they got every piece of information they could ever want on you. That's why I protect my personal data with today's sponsor, Virtual Shield One. And I absolutely love the security I get with them. Virtual Shield One helps protect my personal data, browsing history, and internet activity from data breaches like this one. It does this by continuously scanning the dark web, and it helps to erase my data anywhere it finds it. That's why my private data is better protected against cyber criminals, tech corporations, or ISPs. Plus, Virtual Shield One includes up to $1 million in identity theft protection insurance. So I know my data is safe. Every day, 3.8 million people have their personal records stolen from data breaches. Use Virtual Shield One to help prevent yourself from being one of them. Thanks again to Virtual Shield One for sponsoring Lionel Nation. Be sure to sign up by visiting virtualshield.com/Lionel, or simply use my link in the description below, because every sign up with that link gets up to 67% off with a 60-day risk-free trial. Give yourself the gift of peace of mind. Julian Assange should be, one would think, should be a hero, especially among American journalists. I don't know. I think there are some. I think we must look to, thankfully, to younger iterations of this, because when it comes to journalists today, no. Let me go back to a couple of points here so that we grasp. First, imagine what Julian Assange was thinking during this moment. Just imagine what was he thinking when he went through this moment. Just think about that. By the way, he hasn't lost weight. He looks rather robust. That's misleading, though. There are people on death row who are very overweight, who, by virtue of their horrible food, have become portly. But he's not skin and bones.
Well, that'll have a number we don't. Okay.
Look at this. Look at him bounding up. Looks to be in good shape. And that's it. Interesting point about this flight. I find this interesting. Where we go here? Stand by. Just a second. Let me get this story. Pardon me. Here we go. Ah, yes. Julian Assange. By the way, I hate this Daily Mail effect. You go to a news story, and there's something but ads popping up, and you're always shutting this down. But in any event, Julian Assange shelled out about $500,000 to fly to a remote island to avoid returning to the American mainland after accepting a plea deal with the government and being freed from prison. Assange, a mere 52, was freed. By the way, this is about a 15-year ordeal he's been through. Think about this. Anyway, he was freed Monday morning from UK prison and flew from London Stansted Airport to the U.S. territory of Saipan in the northern Mariana Islands. An expensive $500,000 flight, according to reports. He will have a U.S. federal court hearing Wednesday morning on the remote Commonwealth Island. There he will plead guilty to conspiracy to obtain and disclose a national defense information for releasing classified reports of the U.S. wars in Afghanistan and Iraq on his WikiLeaks site. He reportedly refused to set foot on American mainland and instead opted for the tropical island as it was closer to the homeland of Australia. The American territory is only about 1,800 miles from Australia, compared to the 7,000 miles between it and Hawaii. Emily Crawford, a professor at Sydney University's law school, explained the decision to Reuters, telling the outlet he has to front up to charges that have been brought under U.S. law. It had to be U.S. territory, but it had to be U.S. territory closest to Australia that wasn't a U.S. state like Hawaii. I don't think it makes any difference, but in any event, after he pleads guilty to the charge, he's expected to be allowed to fly home with his 5 years in UK prison as credit for time served. His wife, Stella Assange, said he will seek a pardon from the U.S. after pleading guilty to the charge. She told Reuters it had been a rough few years, and he goes on and on. Now, let me ask you this question. And I want my friends for you to note that class is in session. Question number 1. What American crime does an Australian citizen commit when not in the United States? What did he do? Imagine if you are tweeting, microblogging, and the like, and all of a sudden you get this notification that France wants you extradited because you have revealed or violated French law. How does that work? How does that work? And people are saying, wait a minute, what? First, can I commit espionage? Can I commit Russian or Chinese espionage? I have no duty not to reveal. Oh, no. I know this. I'm sure there is something that says you can do this. I can see it if I'm there, so to speak. But assuming I were to violate a law, I said something. Hey, you people You Saipanese and I violate some hate crime law. Any implications? None. The Espionage Act. President Trump, guess what you're being charged with the Mar-a-Lago case? Espionage. How did you fall for this? How did you fall for this business with Mike Pompeo? Do you not understand how this thing is? Now, by the way, if you're a Trump, one of these people that said, don't say anything bad about Trump, turn this off immediately. Go watch Fox News. They got these 4 idiots in the morning who are just devolving. I just look at them. I'm thinking, this can't be happening. Today is the birthday of Eric Blair. Who's Eric Blair? Anybody remember? Eric Blair, 121 years old, I believe, today. Who is Eric Blair? Now, somebody yesterday said, what does this word mean? Never looked it up. Who is Eric Blair? It's his birthday today. Eric Blair is a hero of mine. Anybody? I know there's a delay when I ask a question and when the actual reporting. Who is Eric Blair? Who? Come on. How long does it take to say, oh, Eric Blair, just a second. Oh, that's so-and-so. You'd be surprised how many people do this. I don't know. Are you going to look it up? No. Are you curious? No. You're on a phone, right? Thank you. Dennis, George Orwell. Thank you. Linda Blair's dad. I'm not going to look this up. I got to make a joke. Because I don't care. Oh, God. Rick Blair, the wrestler? Oh, that's a pun. We don't know anything. We just don't know anything. And what we do is we have this wonderful illusion of involvement called social media where we can show our anger and Americans can act so. I really put it this way. I will say this. I've never wanted to ever be I've never wanted to ever live anywhere but the United States. Ever. I've really never. The looks of things don't appeal to me. I mean, that's nice. That's nice. I like it here. It's the only country I've known. But if I were to ever leave, I would want to live in a country, or want to live in an area where news and history are so hammered in their minds. Great Britain to an extent. Europe, maybe because World War II was still there. But where they really enjoyed talking about and understanding the implications of what's going on. Not like we do in this country, because in America, we just don't care. Call Me Red says, even as a millennial, I know who this Eric Blair is. I'm lying. America is where we love ignorance. We love it. We wallow in it. We don't care about anything. We care a little bit about some things. Let me explain to you, and if I were in a class right now, I'd say, what is journalism? Does journalism mean anything to you? Of course not. Because Americans, for the most part, just don't, they haven't seen it in such a long time. And you get some pretty good stuff. There's really good stuff going on right now in this country. Really good stuff. Eric Blair. Julian Assange is a journalist. There's a United States Supreme Court case called Bartnicki against Vopper. Bartnicki. Bartnicki was a 2001 case that said the following. This is important. If you, as a journalist, come upon something which is let's say stolen, something that was stolen, something that was stolen, something that was purloined. Okay. What does purloin mean? I'm not going to look it up. You either tell me now or I just move on. Okay. If something is stolen, and let's say you're a journalist for a newspaper, let's say, or a blog, and somebody comes to you and they were to tell you, by the way, here's the video, by the way, if you don't watch. They were to come to you and say, listen, I got something for you. I have I intercepted a communication with Joe Biden, and Joe Biden is speaking to so and so about some such and such, and it is a violation. I took this, I stole this, I intercepted it illegally. It was an illegal wiretap. I somehow got a hold of it, and I'm giving it to you as a journalist. And in this, it's proof that Hunter Biden and he were conspiring to work illegally with the Chinese, whatever. Okay? Okay. Now that's what it is. Gotcha. And you publish it. You're an independent. Maybe you're a blogger. By the way, are bloggers journalists? Absolutely. Is a Glenn Greenwald a journalist? Yeah. And God bless Glenn Greenwald and people like Tucker and others who really try to do their best. And there's so many great, great, great folks. There are others who are not really journalists. They're just it's kind of like an entertainment, kind of a talk show. Patrick Ben-David is a talk show. They're not really into investigating things. Rogan is kind of a hybrid. His is more of it's a Johnny Carson for various information. But Greenwald, I think, is journalism. That's a different story. That's somebody trying to get to the bottom of something, trying to investigate something. And there are others as well. But most of the time, there are reaction shows. Very little analysis, just reaction. And remember, the Republican Party reacts. It doesn't act. It reacts. It doesn't do anything on its own. It reacts. Anyway, so make a long story short. So under this Bartnicki case, the Supreme Court said, you, as long as you have not gone out of your way to specifically steal this yourself, if you are not a co-defendant, so to speak, or a participant in the theft of it, you as a journalist are completely and 100% covered by the First Amendment. Now, one of the biggest lies ever was this idea of Daniel Ellsberg and the Pentagon Papers. That was a limited hangout. Everything that he had said had been released or known to other people, and from the Paris match to whatever, it doesn't matter. But our story is that we believe is that he was a hero. He was also a freak, which is one of the reasons why they wanted to go into his psychiatrist's office, because he was a freak in any event. But the New York Times and the Washington Post would be equivalent to what Julian Assange is. Are they saying anything on his behalf? No. Are they saying anything? No. Why? They're the government. They're proxies for the shadow government. Bezos buys this bastion of journalism because Bezos was handed this fiction called Amazon, and he is told to believe, to labor under this myth that somehow he created this thing out of nowhere. He was selected, Zuckerberg was selected, and others, to act as proxies to benefit from In-Q-Tel and various Intel venture capitalist firms and DARPA and others to come up with these things, to allow you, the citizen, to like them, for you to believe that this is some type of an individual private enterprise effort, so that we can then turn around and spy on you using this in terms of a proxy mechanism. But so Julian Assange is absolutely, positively, 100% covered by this Bartnicki case. He is the Washington Post. And they're not saying anything. Why? Because these people are sellouts. And your beloved Fox News is so scared of the Dominion case, it won't touch anything. I told you, my biggest fear, one of them, is to have illegals vote en masse. En masse. And nobody else is going to say anything. Certainly not Fox News, because they've got that Dominion case, and they say, if it comes to election fraud, do not, or any kind of election irregularity, forget about us. We're done. We're through. And Newsmax, oh, that thing's just hanging on by a thread. By a thread. Raising money to defray upcoming litigation costs? What kind of investment is that? Not exactly selling me. So Julian Assange basically said, okay. And they came after him left and right. First of all, that stupid Swedish charge. He was alleged to have been, and I can't use these words because of algorithms in this particular platform. The R word, or this word, or that word. But do you know what the basis for the, dare I say, the charges against Mr. Assange was that he did not use, during a couple of consensual encounters with women, he did not use what some call protection. And that, construed under Swedish law, is considered tantamount to some sort of assaultive behavior. So he said, okay, look, I'll go to Sweden, but make sure you don't extradite me to the U.S., because he knew what was going on, because they wanted him. They wanted him. And they said, well, we can't do that. He said, well, I'm not gonna do that. So he then became part. This is the 15-year odyssey. So he lucked, thankfully, was in the Ecuadorian embassy, which was just horrid. What was it? 8 years? These years are just incredible. It was this little room. He couldn't go outside. There's no sun. There's no this. Okay, fine. Make a long story short, he made a deal. And they said, look, Joe Biden said, I don't want to do this. I don't care about this. We really, believe it or not, this is a Trump thing. And by the way, the same DOJ is still there. And I've been forced to fight this because I'm Joe Biden and I have to worry about me because they've got the goods on me and my son. And I have to do whatever they say. I'm subject to their whim, to their orders. I have no say in this. I am unable to really fight this thing. So finally, I am done. I don't know what's going to do or what's going to happen. But we're just going to say, listen, Julian, plead to one count. I know. You want to litigate this? Fine. Come to the U.S. We'll extradite you. That'll take years. If for some reason you're in some Virginia federal court, you can forget it. You may or may not win. Maybe we don't have jurisdiction over you. Maybe we don't. Maybe you do. But you're not going anywhere, and you're not going to get a post of bond. So plead to one count of this. And I would have said, had I been his lawyer, plead to whatever it is. Plead to kidnapping the Lindbergh baby. It doesn't matter. Nobody believes this. People know why you're doing this. This doesn't mean anything. Plead to whatever you want. Just be done with this. Be done with this. Do you understand? He said, okay, that's what I'm doing. It's a joke. It's a complete and total joke. And NBC, ABC, CBS, Fox, Newsmax, OAN, go down the list. Who else is on cable? CNN, MSDNC, they don't even recognize it. They loved Ellsberg because it was about the Vietnam War, but nobody understands what he did. Now, do you have to agree with Snowden? Excuse me. And by the way, Edward Snowden, he's not really a journalist. He's in a different position. So you can't just be a journalist. You can't say, I'm a journalist. Well, no, you can't get caught burglarizing somebody's house and say, excuse me, what are you doing here? I'm a journalist. I'm writing a story on how bad security precautions are in the country. And that's why I'm doing it. I'm a journalist. No, you're not. Yes, I am. This is my research. You can't arrest me. Yes, we can. So journalism goes to an extent. But WikiLeaks, now, here's the thing. We have to deal with Chelsea Manning, but nobody likes Chelsea Manning because Chelsea Manning was Chester Manning or Peyton Manning or whatever the hell his name was before he transitioned, I guess. So he wears a dress and people don't like it because that's it. It's the only reason. And they think he's a creep, and of course Americans just, Do I agree with what Chelsea Manning did? Nope. Absolutely not. Wait a minute. Is Chelsea Manning guilty? Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But Assange isn't? Correct. Is Snowden guilty? Yeah. Sure. He may have a noble calling. But I go to work for Booz Hamilton, and I work for the United States government. And I swear I'm going to follow orders. Now, I am not under any kind of duty to follow an illegal order. Well, who determines if it's illegal? Well, I do. So all I know is I don't want somebody wearing the uniform saying, you know what? We have this secret operation, some Marines and Delta Force and Navy SEALs. They're in Estonia. They're a part of some NATO team. And I don't like NATO. And I don't like Victoria Nuland. And I don't like these people. So I'm going to reveal their whereabouts and risk their life. And no. Nope. Yeah, but you're against the war. Fine. This is me. So if you're in State Department, if you're journalist, excuse me, you're a uniformed person, and you reveal that, oh, you're guilty. Absolutely. We don't want you deciding, I'm going to let this thing go. We have some spies. I'm at the State Department. This is Alger Hiss. This is Aldrich Ames. There's some people who I believe, some American spies, let's say, that are in the Bulgarian embassy. And I don't like our policy regarding Bulgaria. So I'm going to reveal, no, you're not protected. It's tough. If a journalist reports it, is that protected? Yes. Why? Because there's no test. You can't say, okay, look, you can publish what you want so long as it's not important. So long as it doesn't risk anything. So long as it doesn't embarrass the country. So long. What? Yeah, you have this, you can do this, but you can't. Doesn't make any sense. You think America understands it? No. Because America is dead. Intellectually. We're dead spiritually. I mean, we're very good about, we'll do, I'm proud to be an American, and we love Jesus Christ and all that stuff. But the soul of America? Nah, nothing really special about us. It's true. It's very sad. It's sad. It really is sad. And let me tell you what else is sad. We live in a country right now, and this is the part that nobody can understand. We have people, students on college campuses, which used to be the bastion of free speech, used to be the marketplace of free speech and ideas and all this stuff. And what's happening is that for reasons I don't understand, they are being threatened. Their diplomas, their graduations threatened because they dare to say something which may embarrass or hurt or interfere with the policies of a foreign government, namely Israel, because it's anti-Semitic. And what? Wait a minute. Wait. What? Oh, yeah. And you said something about France. Yeah, we're adding France to that, too. Yeah, you said something about Macron's wife being a whatever. No, we're going to include that one. Americans should be furious with that. Are they? Of course not. Of course not. Americans care nothing about this. Americans care absolutely nothing about it. You don't understand. We just don't, we don't care. Imagine somebody in a beanbag chair, big fat guy wearing one of those, there's a particular style of t-shirt, I won't mention it, covered in Cheeto dust. beer, flatulating, wallowing in his own waste, watching TV, tweeting, watching TikTok or whatever. That's the American. Couldn't care less. Just doesn't care. Nothing. Yeah, he's a Trump supporter maybe, but he really he loves Trump but he hates the other side, and his politics is very, very rudimentary, very, very base. And if you try to explain what we're talking about, he wouldn't understand it. He just does not grasp it. It's like talking to a child. When you talk to a child, if your little 5-year-old said, "Mommy, Daddy, what is Julian Assange about?" Forget it. Is he a bad man? No. Well, what did he do? He told the truth. But the truth gets you in trouble. Those people who are supposedly being shut down because they're, quote, anti-Semitic, they're not under attack because they're speaking falsely. They're under attack because what they're saying is true. See, it's the truth part. See, that's the part. Truth normally removes you from liability. For example, in libel slander, if it's true, you're off the hook. See, we're in this new iteration of this new version of our world. And there's this thing called journalism, which is dead. Sit back for a second. Listen very, very carefully to this important word. Then I'm going to ask you a question, and I want to provide you with a, dare I say, I'm going to provide you with a hypothetical, which I don't think you're going to be able to answer. It's no longer a question of if something catastrophic is coming, it's when. And what are you going to be doing about it to prepare now? Your first step is going to my website, preparedwithlionel.com, preparedwithlionel.com. And for a limited time, enjoy their special partner offer. Take $50 off a 4-week or $100 off a 3-month emergency food supply. You decide, but act now. My Patriot Supply is equipped to help you and your family prepare. They've helped over 2 million families already, and they're simply the best. These 4-week starter kits provide over 2,000 calories every day, 16 varieties, 25-year shelf life, breakfast, lunches, dinners, snacks, everything, you name it. And they're sealed inside 2 rugged waterproof buckets and over 31 pounds of food. But the best deal, what I recommend, is the 3-month supply. But anyway, it's your choice, but act now. Take advantage now, and preparewithlionel.com is where you should go. Preparewithlionel.com. I want you to imagine the following and just try imagining what it's like to explain this to people and to see if anybody truly cares. Howie Brown gifts 10 Lionel Nation memberships. Thank you, Mr. Brown. And you have a lovely daughter. Thank you so much, sir. Imagine you were in a class and somebody says, "Professor, yes. What can we learn from Julian Assange?" What? Well, what do you mean? Well, what can we as journalism students do to avoid the problems he faced? Oh, that's simple. Don't be a journalist. Julian Assange exposed Hillary Clinton. We would have known nothing about her email problem had it not been for Julian. Had it not been for WikiLeaks. Don't think WikiLeaks. Think, and by the, you know what wiki means, right? Have you ever heard this? I don't know what I'm asking this for, but I'm going to do it myself. Do you know what wiki means? No. Is anybody going to look? No, I just did it right now. Took me a second. I got the answer. Do Americans do that? You've got a phone. I can't believe how many people don't have a laptop. They don't do emails. They just don't. They're if it's not on a phone, if they don't even make phone calls anymore. But a wiki, W-I-K-I, is a form of online hypertext publication that is collaboratively edited and managed by its own audience directly through a web browser. That's what wiki means, W-I-K-I. And its wikis are common stops, they say, on the, quote, information superhighway. However, they only date to 1995 after computer programmer Ward Cunningham introduced his software WikiWeb to the world. The software, whose name is based on a Hawaiian term for quick, allows website visitors to contribute content to its pages and contents on and make changes to information posted. A site using the software is referred to as a wiki. So Wikipedia is basically a consumer-based form of an encyclopedia where you add to it. Is it authoritative? It can be. But that's what wiki means. So if it's Wikipedia, WikiLeaks, it's collaborative. I promise you, there would be people who would go to their death and not even show an interest in what that means. There's a story, I don't know how true it is, but I like it. Admiral or Captain Cook, or whatever it was, who was on the Australia, saw what we call a kangaroo for the first time. Couldn't believe what this thing was, this marsupial standing upright. And he asked the natives or aboriginals or whatever, what is that called? And they said, gangaroo. What's that called? Gangaroo. Oh. And the story goes that, he said we called it kangaroo. The story goes that the term gangaroo means I don't know. So when they were asking him, what's this thing called? They said, I don't know. And they said, oh, gangaroo. And that's the story about that. I live for that. Whether it's true or not, I questioned it. I said it might be a bit apocryphal. I can't live. I can't sleep if I don't know what something means. It drives me crazy. And if I didn't know something, if I said something wrong, if I misspoke, if I mispronounced a word, one day Mrs. Ellen and I were having, what do you do when you have a collective noun, like the Beatles? Is it the Beatles is my favorite group? Or the Beatles are my favorite group? And we were discussing this. Not because we wanted to, but it's what I promise you. Most people just don't. Nothing lures them. You know the word meme. How many times have you heard meme? That's a meme. And I ask people, where did the word meme come from? What does it mean? From memetics, it's Dawkins. Just of no interest. Well, in a thought experiment, if I said, class, what can you do to prevent being the next Julian Assange? The answer is don't publish it. No. What did Julian Assange do that was against the law? Nothing. He's an Australian citizen. And if an American citizen received information regarding Australian irregularities and whatever, would the American be subject to criminal prosecution? According to this theory, yes. Now stop right there. Most Americans, you line up and say, did you hear what I just said? Imagine you found out that your neighbor was picked up in the middle of the night by, let's say, Department of Justice, working on some kind of extradition order with France or something, because your neighbor in a blog said something or posted something or published something that is considered against the law in France, but is not against the law here. Imagine you possessing a form of a drug that is not against the law here, but would be against the law in France. This is the most important question there is. And Americans, especially when I'm proud to be an American, or at least I know I'm free. where I never ask any questions and nothing. The jadrules on Fox News in the morning. Hey, good morning. Hey, Ainsley. Hey. And that poor young man. What? I don't know what he's saying, but that's okay. Gotta look cool. They're not talking about this. So to answer your question, I don't know what the answer is. We don't need journalism schools. You think there would be protests. There would be. No, of course not. Journalism just doesn't care. Where was the New York Times or Fox News or anybody screaming when you were disallowed from speaking in public because you dared to utter words or terms regarding palliative care as to COVID? When you talked about ivermectin and the like. Raul says, would I be jailed if I said what Assange said? Well, that's precisely the question. Not what he said if you published it. Let me ask you now. Let's assume, Raul, is a good question, that Tucker Carlson, who, by the way, says nothing that is dangerous. He just talks around it. But it's closer than anything we've ever seen. But he says nothing that is dangerous. That's like, wow. Did you hear that? No. It's just everything is so pablum that it sounds scary, but it's not. He said nothing of any particular note. But I digress. The question then remains, and this is important. Why did this happen? Why is nobody saying, why are people asking journalists and the like not to say something which is, quote, anti-Semitic, but I can say something that's anti-Catholic? It happens all the time. I know people who say the most brutally horrible things about the Catholic Church, about the papacy, the Pope. They're not covered by this. Why is anti-Semitism different? Why? Why? I don't understand that. And by the way, lest you think I have a preoccupation with anti-Semitism, I ask the question, why do I have to say the N-word when we know what the N-word means? If I'm talking about it, I'm broaching the subject. You know what it is. How does this sanitize the discussion? Why can't I say that? Nobody talked about that. I don't understand it. In 1970, 71, there was something called the Anarchist Cookbook. Supreme Court said no problem. This told you it's a book on how to make bombs and poisons. And they said, that's okay. But I can't say something. If somebody is against the particular military and political policy of the Likud and Bibi, why can't they say something? Raul says, can I be jailed for something I wrote years ago? Depends upon the statute of limitations. Yeah, sure you can. Something I wrote? One in particular. What if you wrote or threatened falsely the placement of a bomb that didn't exist? Or sure, if it was 2 years ago, a year ago. I mean, if you can get in trouble for saying it an hour ago, you can get in trouble maybe for a year ago. The timeliness of it may not be a problem. See, nobody cares about anything. And today is the birthday of George Orwell. Doublespeak. And I think it also goes back to the idea of critical thinking, because we start off with the idea of, do I like these people? Yeah. Okay. Well, that's fine. I've tried to ask friends of mine. I'm saying the fact that you're Jewish has nothing to do with the issue of whether there are instances of inhumanity or genocide or apartheid or whatever it is. You can talk about it. Talk about it. Say it. If you think it, say it. Did you think South America was an apartheid state? Yeah. Why could you say that? What do you mean? Well, nobody withheld your diploma if you dared to say that Mandela was mistreated. where you said that the people of South, these, oh God, there was a name for these, forgot these, not these territories, these villages, so to speak. Why could I say something about against the ANC or for the ANC? Why? Little Stephen got into a raft of you know what when he, during the course of his ain't gonna play Sun City, he made a big mistake with that. He later acknowledged it because they came down on him like he couldn't believe. They protested him. How dare you? Well, now it turns out he was right. So why can I say there's apartheid in South Africa, but I can't say there's apartheid in Gaza? Why? You're going to withhold somebody's diploma, and you're going to say, well, no, but you had a protest. You had a protest, so what? Now, if you had, do you mean to tell me that you want to, and see, nobody's even remotely discussing it. You're telling me that you want to keep somebody's protest because they were involved in a protest, let's say, or you want to keep somebody's diploma rather, or withhold their graduation because they appeared in a protest in a college campus that was violent. Yeah. Why have you not reversed or basically audited or held as a racketeering enterprise Black Lives Matters and BLM, because they have been absolutely positively directly involved in domestic terrorism, along with Antifa, who likewise hasn't been touched. But you're going to go after students who set up tents and wore a keffiyeh and said that they believe that they don't like Israel or they like Palestine. Can you believe that? I can't. I mean, I can't. And you can say, I don't care one way or another. Well, I don't care. Doesn't matter to me. But you can say that. What should bother you is the fact of what's being said and what's not being said. And what should bother you is that Julian Assange is a journalist. You know, I got to tell you something. If there were sports, maybe a sports channel or something, where somebody was fired because they're saying, well, you know, I'm sorry, but I don't think the Yankees are as great this year or really as heralded. I don't think they're America's team anymore. I think it's the Brewers, whatever. And somebody were fired. You can't say that. What do you mean? Well, that's hateful. That's hateful. Wait a minute, what? Against the Yankees. You can't say that. Then they would come to the aid of the person because that would get them. Well, that's what this is. When it comes to politics, people just it doesn't connect. It doesn't make any sense to them. It doesn't work. It doesn't mean anything. And if they don't like the person, they won't agree. They won't say, you know, you have the right to say this. Let me give you an example of something. Josh Hawley is one of these simpleton senators who treat you like a child. And the only thing he can talk about, or that he loves to talk about, and I can't blame him because, again, Americans do not understand. They'll say things like, you're not going to believe this, but there was a woman who came to our office and I asked him, I said, do you know, she referred to women as child producing entities. And he said, is there a difference between a man and a woman? And she couldn't answer the question. Can you believe that? That's what he focuses on. Christian says, Carly Simon turns 81 today. Happy birthday. Oh, thank you, Christian. And some of the worst plastic surgery in the history of her eyes have disappeared. Disappeared. Have you seen her? It's frightening. Her eyes, she has no eyes. She's like a mole. I do not know why people do this. But they say, if I get my eyes fixed, I look younger. I scare small children and pets and cause, you know, homing pigeons to redirect. But I have little tiny slits for eye. I don't understand it. But she was very good. In fact, you're so vain, you probably think this tweet is about you. So going on what's happening here. Nobody really explained. So anyway, the issue is simply this. The people who all of a sudden are getting all upset over the fact that Rachel Levine, who, if this wasn't Rachel Levine who sits there and talk like this, okay, fine. And people just, all they do is they notice her wig or her voice or her whatever it is. And that's all they look at. Here's the issue. Ms. Levine, you're saying that it is completely okay and groovy to suggest that not over the counter, but drugs that were not necessarily intended for this can be used as puberty delaying and the like, and also basically drugs that destroy fertility and sexual functioning. You're saying that's okay. A drug that will permanently affect a child, because you cannot reverse gender reversal. It's not like putting on a hat. Once you've rewired the hormonal circuitry, that's it. So you would say that's okay. But people who during COVID decided that they were going to advocate either ivermectin or hydroxychloroquine, that you wanted to crush them, even though they're saying, wait a minute, this is my body, this is my choice, well, that's bad science, but this is good science. What I just told you right there, too complicated. No. Because that involves irony and hypocrisy and things like that. Now, if I said to you, and she can't answer, let's say theoretically, she can't answer what the definition of a woman is, that people get. So here's America's answer. America's answer to Julian Assange, nothing. Nothing. Last night around, I was up, we're midnight and we're doing this show and that show. We're doing all this stuff. And the world, Europe and everybody's going crazy, except here. They're talking more, hey, the Florida Panthers won the Stanley Cup. That was getting our attention. But this man who was held for, 15 years for what exactly? Nothing. Bibi Netanyahu is coming on the 24th. Do you know what's going to happen when the protests get out of hand? And I hope they don't. But if they do, you're going to see all those people who talked about wanting to use January 6th, you're going to see them in a quandary. What do we do? How do we have to stifle this protest? They're not breaking anything. They're not trespassing, but we got to stop them. It's not an insurrection. They're not asking for any kind of, or promoting any kind of seditious conspiracy. So what do we do? That's the issue. That is so important. Nothing will be said about that. Nothing will be said about that. Let me tell you another First Amendment issue that's coming. I promise you this is coming. There are social media folks that just drive people crazy because they're so audacious and they're so right and they're so popular. Alex Jones, libs of TikTok in particular. I promise you one day they are going to say, people are going to demand that their sites be shut down because they are saying mean things about Tyler Cherry, the LGBTQ non-binary executive or associate director of communications for the White House. I promise you this is going to happen. It's coming this way. And they'll get away with it. Why is that? They'll get away with it. I'll tell you why. It's a very, very simple reason why. But first, this. All right, dear friends, it's time yet again to hail and salute our great friends at MyPillow.com. And if you use promo code Lionel, you get a free gift. No purchase necessary. And yes, I know. A free gift. It's a tautology. So sue me. But first, listen. check out their $25 extravaganzas. Listen to this: premium MyPillows, king and queen, MyPillow 2.0, MyPillow bed sheets, the lowest prices ever, sandals, slides, and slippers, 6-piece towel sets, 4-pack dish towel sets, simply and absolutely the best. It is unbelievable. So go to mypillow.com/Lionel or call 800-645-4965 and watch how fast Mike answers the phone. MyPillow.com, promo code Lionel, MyPillow.com, promo code Lionel. Simply the best, simply and absolutely the best. We learned a couple of things, those of us who have been students of free speech, that the government uses social media platforms as proxies, as agents for them. So when I don't like something that somebody has said, I pick up the phone and I say, and WikiLeaks, and thank God for Elon Musk, WikiLeaks, Twitter leaks or whatever it's called, said that you can go and there were people saying, we want this shut down. And nothing ever happened to them. I would go so far as to say, anybody who says shut speech down, I think you are conspiring to violate my First Amendment civil rights. And you should be prosecuted for daring, for conspiring, for aiding, abetting, counseling, procuring, or hiring others to deprive me of civil rights. That's not going to happen. So going back to what I'm saying, if I want to find out, if I really want to delve into the subject matter of Julian Assange, I have to go elsewhere. Thank God for the internet. Thank God for social media. I go elsewhere. I see what they're going. I see, what does Al Jazeera say? What does RT say? What does CCTV say? What does BBC say? What does Europe and the rest of the world say? Not here. You don't find anything here. We don't talk about anything here. We'll talk about the weather. We'll talk about, stuff, Trump, and there were people who actually were suggesting that the president soiled himself. This made more. This had more attention paid to it than you can imagine. I don't think the world has a version of Karine Jean-Pierre. I don't think so. I don't think you could ever have I'm trying to think, maybe during the days of Pinochet, when Pinochet was older, maybe he looked kind of old. I'm trying to think. I do not know any other time in recorded history where we had somebody who looks like Biden. And the real issue is not that Biden is old. The issue is that what level of functionality becomes an impediment that precludes or obviates or makes impossible the ability to carry out the office. That's the issue. But that's not where we go. It's memes and funny things. Let's be funny. Because I'm telling you, America in particular loves to be funny. They love a joke, or they love to think they're funny. They love it more than anything you can imagine. It doesn't matter. And it's not even funny. It's the appearance of being funny because it's easy to understand. And it's not brilliantly funny because sometimes absurdism and the like can be critical. That's not what this is. This is something completely different. There are people who, again, when you sit down and say, you're proud to be an American, or at least I know I'm free. What are you free about? How is this free? How did you allow your country to want to extradite somebody to this country for being a journalist? It was Mike Pompeo. And President Trump fell for this because he listens to idiots. That's his big problem. And the very act that he was being charged with espionage is what they went after Assange for. Can you say irony? Who is he listening to? I don't know. He's got that moron, not really a moron, but that creepy son-in-law who actually said that Gaza could be the greatest, could be the, how do I say this? Could be a great source of, or a site for oceanfront property. Never. I would have screamed at him. I mean, maybe Trump did. I would have screamed at him and said, I don't know you. Anybody who's that stupid, you're connecting me with this? I'm done with you. You'll be the father of my grandchildren, the husband of my daughter. I'm through with you. I don't know you other than that status. I'll acknowledge you at family get-togethers. I'm through with you. Period. You'll never do that. After everything that Trump has been through, after lawfare, after this level of unmitigated, unparalleled, unimaginable, inexplicable, undescribable horrors that he's been the subject of lawfare, you think he would have in his heart this sense of, I know what Assange is going through. This is ridiculous. Nope. 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 Tell me, do you think Seymour Hersh is a bad guy who revealed My Lai? You think he's a bad guy? Thank God. A lot of people, it hurt the war effort. It could have compromised the lives of Americans in a war zone. I know that sounds weird, but Seymour Hersh was a hero. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Thank you. But we did that. Pinkville, Cali, and Medina, and all of them. Remember that Charlie Company? We benefited from that. Why did we think differently then? Why? I don't understand this. Nobody ever called me or anybody anti-American. Oh, they might have, but nobody ever denied a diploma because you dared to rail against American forces in Vietnam. But you're going to deny somebody an American diploma because they said something about a foreign country? I can't say this enough. And we have an Australian citizen who is going to be extradited for violating an American law in Australia or Sweden or. You hear that? Crickets. Whatever. That's us. Whatever. Yeah, it's not meaty. Let's talk about, can we talk about that guy in the dress? That's easy. That's America. Simple. Very simple. I'm going to be talking about this. This is one of the most significant days. As I'm talking to you right now, the entire, huge swaths of the world are going berserk, talking about what this means to journalism, speech, and Americans are just, as usual, that is our problem. So let me ask you something. Are we free? No, we're not free. Are we the greatest country in the world? Compared to what exactly? If I walked onto that Fox News and said, why were you sued by Dominion? What did you say that was untrue? Or why should you? I mean, if what you reported on was untrue, is that your fault or is it somebody else's fault? You can't talk anymore about election interference because you've gotten memos left and right because you're saying we're not going to go through this again. Dominion and Smartmatic, they absolutely shut you down. And you don't think anything about it. You don't even know it because you're making millions of dollars a year. You've got one jadrul at the end of the couch who can't even speak English, making millions. He's not going to say anything. He's not going to say anything to get away from it. No way. We're not interested in that. But at least we know we're free because we're proud to be an American. We don't know anything. We don't vote. We don't grasp things. We're incurious. We don't look up words. We don't lift a finger because we live in this world where everything comes at us. And if somebody who's throwing the news at us on our devices, if they happen not to tell us something, we're not going to know. We will never. We don't write. We don't think. We don't write love letters, poetry, art, nothing. We have schools that are eventually going to go completely remotely. You're going to see the closing of schools. And you know what you're going to use? The real estate. Schools are nothing but real estate. They did this here in New York for hospitals. They shut a few critical hospitals down to make apartments. Hospitals are great. Big, a lot of land. Watch what I'm saying, my friends. Listen to what I'm saying. Let me also tell you something. If you really care what's going on with children, good luck trying to find people who care about that one. Good luck. Your government doesn't at all. I'll tell you one thing who did. Trump did. The Trump administration did. Absolutely. So that's why, my friends, I want you to do me a favor and follow, dear friends, follow Mrs. L, my beloved, her incredible YouTube site at Lynn's Warriors. Let me give you the link right here. Let me give you the link. It is right here. That is it. So please follow her immediately. All right, dear friends. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being a part of this. Thank you for your kindness. Raul Rodriguez and Howie Brown and Call Me Red. Thank you. Happy birthday, Eric Blair. Happy birthday, 1984. Happy birthday to all of the great thinkers, to the independent bloggers, to the independent journalists, to the writers, to the Imagineers. That's a kind of a Disney term, but thank you for those people who really know what they're doing. Thank you for people who understand critical thinking. Thank you for people who put out the most incredible blogs and stories. Thank you. Thank you for the brave and intrepid and glorious streamers and platform moderators and the like who inform us. Thank you for the new breed, the new iteration, the new front line of information and opinion. Thank you. You make this thing exciting. As for the usual suspects, nice knowing you. You're rotting on the vine. You'll see. And one day it's over. And one day they're going to find out, you know what? We're going to try something. Ainsley, yeah, come here, honey. We're going to put a bot in there. It's a chat bot. Yep. No, we don't need you anymore. Thank you. You've made enough. You go put a chat bot in there. We're going to refer to it. More people will tune in to see what's a chat bot, and they will watch this thing and they will love you or love it. And it costs us nothing. And people will prefer it because they are becoming more and more attenuated from and distanced from humanity. So thank you very much. We don't need you anymore. In fact, the whole thing is going to be just one big AI melange, and you can tweak it. It'll be wiki news. You can be at home and you'll be able to dial in the particular hairstyle. We're going to make it so interactive. News will have nothing to do with it. That's happening right now. Guaranteed. And none of this is by accident. All right, dear friends. Have a great and glorious day. Julian Assange, welcome home, dear friend. I feel like I know him. He's a hero of mine. And Eric Blair, thank you. We never listened, but the rest of the world did. Until later, my friends. By the way, always make sure, Lionel Nation, sign up for it. Sign up, sign up, sign up. And if you love the truth, and if you really love to say, that's what I'm after. Nothing too obvious. No low-hanging fruit. I want you to say, never thought of that. That's interesting. Thank you. That's what I want. Have a great day, dear friends. Remember, the monkey's dead. The show's over. Sue ya. Dead.